let's just get right into it. Sam's going to be joining us shortly so we can get all of our Marcus Smart trash talk out of the way, because Sam loves to protect his baby boy. But in all seriousness, we have Keith Parish from the Grits and Grinds podcast and Fastbreak Breakfast to talk about Ja Morant's season-ending injury. Keith, what the hell is going on with the Grizzlies this season?
Well, here's the thing. My podcasts used to be affiliated with the Grizzlies, and they let me go. And I might have, I believe the term is a hex.
Yes.
I might have done some witchcraft. And I thought maybe I'm just playing around. I thought maybe we'd see some bad shooting percentages from a Luke Kennard. I thought maybe Chris Vernon would slip on the ice walking to his car one day. I didn't know this would happen. So I think clearly where the Grizzlies had the winningest 2-year span in their entire history, the 2 years where I was doing work for them, now we're seeing, I think like maybe they're just paying, they're paying the price for that, having chosen to go a different direction.
It's basically the opposite of the Ewing theory. You know what I mean? Like Ewing theory, you lose.
Yeah, they got rid of their
guy.
Best thing and it made them worse. No, you're right.
Exactly,
That's the opposite.
Exactly.
I agree with you.
This is the LeBron James theory. We're now in the post Keith era of the Grizzlies, and they are now experiencing the Colin Sexton Cavalier era. So
yeah.
So starts obviously off on a weird foot regarding Ja with his suspension. 25 games he misses. Whether you
that was a lot of games, Porter. That was a lot of games.
I would say it was a lot. I would say it was pretty detrimental to the teams competing this season, and then
it might have hurt us a little bit.
Also losing Steven Adams and Brandon Clark as well for
that was poor. That was poor.
Not great. And then let's talk a little bit about just beyond Ja, beyond obviously how important he is to the team. The fact that you guys have kind of you were the draft darling team for 2 or 3 years, 2019 through, I guess it was really 2019 and 2020. And if you want to extend back to 2018 because of Jaren Jackson Jr. as well. But there was,
I like to extend back to Dylan Brooks, one of the best 45th picks in NBA history, but that's fine.
That's another one. Yeah. That was the Hollinger era. That's going.
Yeah.
So you have 2018, get Jaren Jackson Jr. in the draft. 2019, you get Ja Morant and Brandon Clark in the draft. 2020, you get Desmond Bane, who turns out to be an absolute steal at the end of the first. Real ball knowers knew that in that draft, that Bane was going to be a guy that certainly outperformed his draft slot. But since then, 2021, 2022, not so great. Obviously, Zaire Williams has not panned out so far. You look at the fact that 2022, you trade DeAnthony Melton to our Philadelphia 76ers and you select David Roddy with the pick. The 2022 draft night is still kind of confusing to me because you guys traded 2 picks to move up to get Jake LaRavia.
Whoops.
And then you traded Melton, who was one of your favorite players on the team. And I understand that they probably didn't want to pay him his next contract, but Melton was a good player for you guys, especially in the regular season. And then you turn that into David Roddy, who has struggled. I like Roddy in the draft, so I can't sit here and say that I, saw this coming or anything. But you basically turned DeAnthony Melton and 2 firsts into David Roddy and Jake LaRavia, and neither have panned out so far. So what is that really like beyond obviously the Ja stuff and the lack of availability? Is that really like the biggest thorn in the side for this team in terms of team building?
I think that didn't do us any favors, and I was loudly opposed before the trade with the idea, because it was sort of out there at the time, like what if they might trade Melton because they were not happy. He was out of the rotation, in and out of the rotation in the playoffs, and he had some bad shooting percentages, and I was really frustrated with the team back then that like they just weren't playing Melton in the playoffs. He had moments, and I feel like Grizzlies fans have been blinded by this. Like he had multiple games against the Warriors where he was amazing. And he comes in and he's blocking these Steph Curry layups at the end. And like the year before that, he had this huge fourth quarter against the Jazz, but like he got yanked around, whatever. They traded him for David Roddy and Danny Green. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And you said like they don't want to pay him his next contract. Like his next contract hasn't even happened yet.
No.
Like he was a very lowly paid, very good player who can basically play alongside anyone. The whole point of basically roster building is finding those guys to put next to your good players. So anyways, that was terrible. But then it was compounded by also letting Kyle Anderson walk. Yep. And then it was just like, it was them, I think, not understanding where they were. Like they had a 56-win team. They had this young, awesome core of Ja and Jaren and Dez, and those guys were going to continue to get better. And like, you didn't need to do anything. They got on this weird, like, hey, let's reset the clocks for our contracts on our guys. So in 2025, our cap sheets are cool. And it's like, dummy, it's 2022. Let's win some basketball games. Let's try to win the title in 2023. Why don't we?
They also would have been fine. Like you said, like Melton still has not.
The one thing that drives me nuts is like, well, we couldn't afford to keep everybody. That's literally false. We could have been paying Dylan Brooks his contract. We could have been paying D'Anthony Melton his contract. Kyle Anderson and D'Anthony Melton don't make anything. Yeah. And it's like they could have paid all those guys and still had Santi Aldama on the roster and still had all your best players. And so I was frustrated with just that overall kind of like thing. And last year's weird. Where like last year, you're like, it was a disaster because you got embarrassed by the Lakers in the playoffs, because Dylan Brooks poked the bear, because Steven Adams and Brandon Clark got hurt. You still were like, we won 51 games last year. We were 31-14 when Steven Adams got hurt. Like, we were second in the West. The Grizzlies were awesome last year. They were going to be awesome even with getting rid of my guy Melton, even with getting rid of Kyle Anderson. It was the injuries that derailed them. And now you add to that the shenanigans of Ja Morant off the court, of him embarrassing the commissioner and getting slapped with a pretty big suspension for being responsible with firearms. Like, I'm super sensitive to firearms. Like, you're not going to find anyone who hates maybe firearms more than me. But also, like, he was goofing off with, we don't even know if he was loaded.
I mean,
it felt like a lot.
What we've said is he was 22, 23 years old. Look,
he was being real dumb.
He was being an idiot, just like most of us have, at some point in our lives when I was in college at the time or just out of college. And then in addition to that, look, I mean, I've said it before, like, we had Carson Wentz here as our quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles for years, and he was being responsible with guns, but he was hunting. So it's a different context and it becomes a whole different thing. But regardless of the off the court stuff, which obviously kind of derailed last season and then continued into this season, it does feel like that was compounded, like you said, in terms of they were able to win games without Ja before, not because they're better without Ja, which was always a stupid thing that people said, but more so that they just had really good depth and underrated players. Like you said, Tyus Jones was a very good regular season player for you guys, Kyle Anderson, D'Anthony Melton, and now all of the depth. And I remember when we did our preseason picks, I picked your guys over, but it was one of the ones I felt the least good about, because I was like, if you look at this roster compared to where they were at 2 years ago when they were without Ja, it's a much worse team. They just have much less veteran talent. They have much less complementary talent. And as good as Jaren Jackson and Bane are, they're not carry a team level guys. And now that Sam is here, we've gotten to the beautiful point of the podcast that I would like to talk a little bit about, because all of this leads to what I'm about to say, which is essentially, I actually think, obviously, you never want your best player to get hurt. You never want a season to go like this. But long term,
I want my best player to get hurt. The Celtics would be better if Jason Tatum was that. Anyway, I don't mean to nitpick, come in and hijack the pod, but you go ahead. Yes. You continue with what you're going to say.
But what I was going to say was that long term, because this team's still so young, Bane has gotten so much better this season. When the team was together, they were finally starting to put some things together. And in terms of, you look at this long-term outcome for them, they now have this, I guess, potential opportunity to either get younger, whether that's through a trade for some of their veterans, or potentially nail another draft pick and potentially lift up the core that already exists. Because they've struggled in the last few drafts, but historically they have been a good drafting team. And this injury pretty much locks them in the bottom 6 or 7, even though it's a weak draft next year. I don't really look too much into that. If you have a great scouting staff, even in weak drafts, you can find guys that complement your talent well, and you can nail those picks. So, Keith, I guess my question for you is, when you look at the veterans on this team, we know the guys who are off limits. Ja, Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. are for sure the core. They're not going anywhere. They weren't even put on the table when Kevin Durant was available. So, who of the guys that are the veterans on the team right now could you see them realistically trading in the next month before the trade deadline?
I think it's going to be the bad ones. I don't think I don't think Sam's guy, Marcus Smart, I don't think they're actually going to trade him. I think it would be irresponsible not to take the temperature of some teams, because it seems like you might get some kind of reckless offers from the Kings, and you might get a reckless offer from the Knicks, just because they've been so disciplined for so long. Like they're dying to do something, it feels like. So like, I feel like it would be irresponsible of you to not listen to those offers. The rest of the guys, I mean, no one's banging down your door for Luke Kennard, and you're also not hanging up the phone when anybody's like, hey, could we get a Luke Kennard? You're like, well, probably. So I don't know. Like, I think you were kind of implying like the silver lining of it all is ending up in this top of the draft. And, even if you finish, the cool thing about the flattened lottery odds, I'm like to pat Adam Silver on the back for a little bit now. The cool thing about that is basically if you're top 9, like you're cool. You got like a 20-something% chance, worst case, of jumping into the top 4. You basically also can't catch with the Hornets, Spurs, Pistons, and Wizards. So like, there's basically no point of even like, hey, Zaire, you're going to play 46 minutes a game now. Like, there's no point. Like, we're not catching anyone beneath us in the lottery standings. Sure. And then also, like, even if you win games, which you're going to, like, if you play your guys, you're going to win some games. It doesn't matter. You're still going to finish, 9th, 10th, 8th worst record. That's good lottery odds. But the blessing beyond the draft pick, I think this is something I feel like a lot of us Grizzlies podcasters have latched onto recently. The blessing of this year is clarity. And the clarity of like, hey, how you used to feel like you were freaking awesome at drafting and you could roll anybody out there? That's not actually true. Some of these guys suck. And like
Sam used to call them the small bean drafting team, which was the case for the 2021-22.
Yeah. I mean,
as people honestly, say, they got a little high on their own supply.
Even the only true miss is like Jake LaRavia right now, and it's still like it's been
Zaire?
2 years.
You don't think Zaire's a miss?
Well, so Zaire's a miss. All right, so Zaire, what is he? Is he? So I guess for where he was taken, you call him a miss. But like Zaire is a 10th man.
My thing with LaRavia is like that part of the draft is so, which is why I didn't agree with them trading 2 firsts to move up, because that part of the draft is just such a crapshoot anyway. Like and there were certain guys I liked on the board that have not panned out at all, including David Roddy, who was on your team. So like, I don't really think that there is if you're in the lottery and you miss, that hurts. That's why the Zaire thing, if it doesn't work out with you guys, is the real issue.
Well, so my thing, my critique of the Grizzlies was always that it always felt like to me that they had that sort of mindset in the back of their mind where it's like there's no real urgency to like improve the team, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't, fuck it, we're gonna nail our draft pick anyway. So why, like, unless we get a great deal, there's no reason to trade 3 firsts for OG Anunoby or whatever the case may be. Like they've made some of those offers.
We literally tried.
Yeah. I was gonna say last deadline they finally did it.
I mean, I'm sure we offered the 25th pick in last year's draft. We offered, we probably offered the Warriors first, which now the Trailblazers are maybe going to get a lottery pick out of that.
Yep.
Whoops. Well, that was the price of Marcus Smart.
Well, and that's the thing is that this is like slowly catching up to the, like, I feel bad for the Grizzlies because like I feel like it's kind of getting pinned on like the Marcus Smart move. Oh, you made your quote unquote all in move. It's not even really an all in move. You made a move, one of your first like spending first move to get better. And it just so happens that Steven Adams gets hurt while you have Brandon Clark like already out for the season. You know what I'm saying? Like they just didn't have bigs. They didn't have anybody to screen really, and it just
Yeah.
dramatically changes how you play. So, and I think on top of the Ja stuff, like this was always going to be a pretty scuffed season. Like the second Steven Adams went down, that really changed it. Like I still thought the Grizzlies actually could still be pretty good in the West up until Steven Adams went down.
Yeah.
But I guess my thing with the Grizzlies, and you're kind of seeing it with how people are talking about the Thunder. Now, the obvious difference is the Thunder own like 1/4 of all draft picks between now and like 2029. Yeah. But people always make the mistake of when a team is young, it's like, oh, the window is like 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like 3. And then maybe like stretches out to like 4 or 5. Anything could change. Like I think after this season, I think things are going to probably go completely the other way next season for the Grizzlies, where they're going to get some of the things the Grizzlies, they'll probably be fighting for a play-in spot. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the Grizzlies be right back in like the top 4 next year or something like that. Like this is just kind of how this stuff goes for them. And I guess my last point just on the drafting end of things, you're up against the Grizzlies have done a very good job in general at the top of the draft, and you're up against the Spurs, the Pistons, the Wizards, and the Hornets. Not exactly a murderer's row, given we don't really know what Winger seems to have done all right with Bilal Coulibaly, but traditionally those are all teams that are way worse at the draft than the Grizzlies. I think they're in a fine spot.
I like this. Yeah. All right. That's good.
There's a pretty good chance the Grizzlies could come out of next draft with one of the top 3 best players in the draft, even having like the number 7 pick. Like they could absolutely Steph Curry this.
Well, it's funny because if you look at that projected range, the 6 to 10 range, there's a lot of misses in that range because once the surefire guys are off the board, 3, 4, 5, that everyone is collectively agreeing these are the top guys in this draft, then you start to get a little bit more kind of all over the place. And there are a lot of teams taking upside swings because you'd rather miss on a guy that you perceive as high ceiling in the draft than get like a high level role player. Well, the Grizzlies are in a beautiful situation because they actually are the one team out of most of these teams that have a firm core 3 guys and are looking for a Reed Shepherd or someone that could be perceived as, lower ceiling, higher floor, like Franz Wagner was in the draft a few years ago. And Franz turned out to be even better than we expected and actually is one of the few hits from the 6 to 10 range. If you look at like the last 4 or 5 drafts, he's one of like 3 or 4 guys that really hit in that range. And that's because he was coming out. He was seen as more of a high level role player, a like Nicholas Batum plus, and he's turned into an all-star. So I kind of look at this opportunity, and I agree with what Sam was saying, but also I kind of look at this deadline as an opportunity to be like what you said. I don't think they're going to trade Marcus Smart, but I think that if the market right now, as it stands, a month out, everyone loves their team. No one's really looking to make a lot of moves. Somehow every year, no one's available except for like the 5 guys on bad contracts that no one wants. And as we get closer and closer to the deadline, those things change. And then we're about a week out and teams start to make real offers. I have some offers here for Marcus Smart that I want to hear your guys' opinions on it. I did not go in the trade machine, but I'm going off the top of my head because I know the majority of the contracts in the NBA, and I'm fairly certain that all of these deals will work. And I want to lead off with the team that you mentioned, and I think this might be a nightmare for Sam. So Sam, you might want to close your ears.
Oh dear.
So the New York Knicks just traded for OG Anunoby, and are seemingly making more all-in moves. The one thing that they have said that they wanted is another ball handler. Marcus Smart is absolutely a Tibbs guy.
I was just going to say, that is demonic.
Made in a factory to play for Tom Thibodeau. A guy that will provide a lot of defensive intensity for them. I know that the shooting hasn't been great, and it's actually been better in the last few games, but regardless, I think he'd be a nice fit there. The guys that they're looking at are kind of in the same mold. Obviously, Brogdon's more of an offensively tilted player, but Dejounte Murray's another guy that they've been interested in. If you wanted to go, guys that are at least in theory more defensively tilted. They have Deuce McBride coming off the bench now. They're very, very similar kind of players. So my offer here for you is Evan Fournier's expiring contract and 2 first-round picks for Marcus Smart. So you basically recoup the value that you got from the Marcus Smart trade when you traded 2 first-round picks in Tyus Jones. And Fournier has a player option next year. If you wanted to pick that up, you could use him as trade bait for next season, or you could just let him expire and then
team
kind
option.
of – what's that?
Team option.
I'm sorry, team option, not player option.
Yes. Yeah.
Non-guaranteed or whatever.
So, I thought of that specifically because, again, it made sense that this is something that then maybe the Knicks would offer, and you're probably not getting excellent first-round picks from the Knicks. The main problem with this deal is you honestly would want to pick up the Fournier contract because it's gonna be hard to replace another player. To find a player who's as good as Marcus Smart for next year. And what are those draft picks? If it's this year's draft, you're like, whatever, we're going to take a flyer in the 20s again, screw that. If it's a far off draft, that isn't that appealing because I want to win some basketball games. So that one, I need someone who can help me, I feel like, on the basketball court, and just Fournier's salary is going to be hard next year because we're not going to have cap space. We're going to be limited by the MLE. And then you're going to be like, all right, so I have to attach something to Fournier next year to try to turn that into a player who's somewhat as good as Marcus Smart. So I would have to keep Marcus Smart in that scenario just because I don't know how I'm going to reproduce that impact on the court next season when hopefully everybody's healthy and unsuspended.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, the majority of the deals that I had come up with here were kind of more reset, rebuild for the next year as opposed to win now. I do have some guys that could potentially instantly come into your rotation and probably help you guys win basketball games next year. I see Sam in the comments saying, can I interest you in a slightly used Andrew Wiggins? I had a Wiggins trade here.
Oh, no. Can I talk about this? This is one I've been talking about a lot. So, like, I don't know what happened to Andrew Wiggins.
It's crazy.
I might just maintain he's been in this unsafe work environment, unhealthy work environment for so long.
Let's get OSHA on the phone.
How could anyone function with the teammates and the coaches he has? I mean, Bob Myers would rather do a coaching search for the Washington Commanders than work with Steph Curry. These people are jumping ship, man. Because honestly, Andrew Wiggins, the Andrew Wiggins we saw, how long was it? Was it like 18 months? Was it 24 months? Was it 2 years? He was amazing.
Yes.
He was absolutely the X factor for the Warriors beating the Grizzlies. We could not stop Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins got every offensive rebound. He made every hustle play. Like,
I'm familiar with this. I'm familiar with this.
Flashbacks right now too.
Yeah, so like that Andrew Wiggins, of course, is perfect. All right, that Andrew Wiggins, he's been through some form of trauma, and he's now shell-shocked, and he stinks. However, Andrew Wiggins, in theory, even if it is like a bad version of him, the fit is so much better than Marcus Smart. And like the dream of what if Andrew Wiggins got any bit better? Because he's not old, and he's a couple years younger than Marcus Smart. The idea of doing I was trying to package together like a Luke Kennard and something else against Andrew Wiggins, but like the Marcus Smart for Andrew Wiggins trade makes a lot of sense. So then
this was the structure of the trade.
All right, what's your pitch? Yeah.
So Conchar is another guy that you have locked up on a nice contract for the next few years, but he's kind of had a weird year.
I'm sorry, the term nice contract, that is the strangest deal in NBA history. He got signed to a 3-year extension 3 years ago. I didn't even know you could do that. Like there was this, like he gets DNPs now. Like we stink, and like he's getting DNPs every now and then. He's like a totally fine guy, but like he was making something like $2 million per year because he was an undrafted. That's another one of the things. Like an undrafted guy they picked up who's an NBA contributor. Credit to the front office for finding that guy. But like 3 years ago, they were like, "Hey, we've locked up John Conchar for 3 years, $19 million. The deal starts in 2024," and it was like, what?
You did what the Sixers did with Joel Embiid 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Pick up your option.
And it was like, I was like, is it going to be hard to re-sign John Conchar in 2024? And this is us 2 years ago. We're like what? Like, is he like, are they guessing that? Like, I felt like it was the thing where they had some actuarial table where they were like, hey man, just the cost of just your 13th man in 2026 is going to be like $12 million. So let's lock in our 13th guy at $6 million. It'll be genius. And now everyone's like, oh yeah, we couldn't re-sign D'Anthony Melton because we're going to be a luxury tax team in 2024-25. And I'm like, because we have Conchar on the roster? No, I'm sorry.
So what you're trying to say
four other teams. I'm sorry. He's a low contract.
What you're trying to say here is that the Grizzlies are light years ahead. Anyway,
yeah.
From the light
I'm
years
saying
podcast,
we need a roster spot right now, and we can't cut him because we have $19 million committed to him for the 3 seasons after this one. We're like, we need a roster spot for Vince Williams Jr. Can we cut Conchar? No, his extension hasn't kicked in that he signed 2 years ago.
Keith sounds like me talking about the Sixers letting Isaiah Joe go for nothing. Anyway, Sam, we have Sam from the Light Years podcast here as the Warriors representative. Sam, how do you feel about a potential Marcus Smart? My structure was Marcus Smart and John Conchar for Andrew Wiggins, and the Grizzlies get a first-round pick. And the reason why is because of the length and the risk that you're taking on the Wiggins contract.
I mean, that's fair because Andrew Wiggins is playing some of the worst basketball I've ever seen. And it's pretty hard to, I just don't know where his shooting went. I think it's really as simple as he forgot how to shoot the basketball and everything permeates from there. It's like you could see the confidence in every other aspect of his game is not there because he can't hit a jump shot. I don't know. No, not really into it. Mostly because what's Marcus Smart really going to do for the Warriors at this stage? Right.
So I see
winning culture.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he'll fight Draymond, and I ultimately I kind of want to see that. So maybe I'm in, but I don't know. I it would be great if the Warriors eventually acquired a player over 6'4". It's been 5 or 6 years since they've done that. So
that's fair.
What if we threw in Xavier Tillman, who hit the legendary 3-pointer in overtime to eliminate the Warriors in the play-in?
He is a Warrior killer, and he those are the type of players you got to love him, because if you ask Warrior fans, they'll speak about him as if he's the same thing as Jaren Jackson. Like, oh, that guy's really good. It's like, relax. But yes, you could throw him in. That might actually appeal to me a little bit.
I feel like Tillman is
big, right? 6'7"
Tillman's
big.
having a bad year. I don't know. He got some of that. So maybe he had a bad workplace experience. Tillman's having a really rough year. We don't really know why. He's a totally fine 10th man. Honestly, I think he'd be great on the Warriors. He's a good passer. He's a good defender. He's just small. He's a tensy big.
The Warriors love that. That's what I was trying to get at.
I was going to say, you think he's small, and I'm like, finally, a tall guy. That's right. Just let you know.
He's 6. Yeah, he's like 6'7". Yeah,
I think it says 6'6" on his basketball reference.
No. You're thinking of Kenneth Lofton Jr., who you have now, who's actually 6'4". Yeah. But yes.
The absolute god, Kenneth Lofton.
The Dewan Blair Memorial.
He's taller than Looney. Looney is our towering big man.
Well, I was thinking about a Looney swap, Sam. I was thinking like free and Looney, maybe getting, because we got to have a big, just flat out. We got to have a big who's signed for next year. Although that doesn't count for Looney. Is he expiring?
No, he's got one more year.
Yeah. All right. We need that. Annual. Yeah.
What was I going to say? Steve Kerr would quit before he allowed the Warriors to trade Looney. I
got good news for you, Sam. That guy's not coming back.
All I'm saying is you might have to wait till the off season for that. Yeah, no, it does feel that way. I mean, can you think of a coach, lame duck at this point, who has not announced that he's not coming back, who's anywhere near as accomplished as Steve Kerr?
Yeah.
I can't see a scenario where he comes. Well, there's one scenario I can see where he comes back, but it's highly unlikely.
What's that scenario?
That scenario is they somehow miraculously pull off an amazing deadline heist. Mm-hmm. The entire vibe changes. They go on some form of a run, and they feel the need to keep the band together. It's way too many moving parts.
What if Adam Silver hadn't talked to Draymond out of retirement? I feel like that could have kept Kerr around if all of a sudden Draymond becomes a full-time podcaster.
Did you not hear about Draymond and Kerr crying in the backyard together?
Oh no, I can't consume Kerr Draymond content because it makes me furiously angry.
Because I can definitely believe that, the real victims of this situation over the last 2 years.
I don't know that I
agree with
believe.
Steve
You know, Draymond put out his podcast, and I just have to ignore it. I can't lie to you guys. It's like a cell phone. I can't acknowledge it's in the universe. Just nothing like that. But yeah, here you go. If you want to screen share this, because I gotta hop in a minute.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Oh boy.
this 30 seconds of cinematic gold.
The Draymond. Oh yeah, Draymond.
Sorry.
Yeah, I had it on the list to talk about. But yes, Draymond and Steve Kerr had an emotional moment, crying together in his yard. Which honestly, it's a beautiful way to end the Warriors' current dynasty. I think it's lovely.
I'm not buying this happened at all. But just a bold
is-
story to throw out there.
Is Steve Kerr the most accomplished coach to ever be coach assassinated by someone with a PER of under 15? Is this the first time?
You want to know the problem? I can't even tell which Warriors player with a PER of under 15 you're referring to. I was like, is this a Wiggins comment? Is this a Draymond comment? Is it a Clay comment?
It's a Kuminga comment.
Jesus.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Well, hey, going back to the trade, can we get what if a Kuminga? What's a Kuminga for Smart package look like?
My conspiracy theory is they're shopping Kuminga. There is no other. First off, he's playing well, and he was right to be pissed that he got benched for no reason as they give away 20-point lead in the fourth quarter.
Absolutely.
But I just can't imagine another scenario where a third-year player defiantly tells Shams he's lost faith in his coach, particularly a coach as old school as Steve Kerr, and he doesn't get benched the next game.
Yep.
Instead, they give him his season high minutes the next two games. It feels like it's a front office memo coming down. It says, Steve, until February 8th, you will play him 25 to 30 minutes a game, and I don't care what your excuses are.
And before you have to hop off, I heard you say you had to hop off. And Steve Kerr said, absolutely, I'll play him. And he will be playing every minute with Andrew Wiggins. So his plus minus is the worst of any player in the NBA because it is amazing. I said I felt like in the scene in Space Jam when the Monstars are just running up the score and it says kind of one-sided. Don't you think? That's every time Andrew Wiggins steps on the court for the Warriors this season.
Can't shoot, can't dribble, doesn't make plays for other people, and he's currently not defending anyone. It's like, I'm also not surprised that it's going poorly for him at this stage. So I don't know what to make of it. It's really just like he started the year, I don't know, 1 for 80 from 3 or something ridiculous like that. And then, I kind of agree with the chat. Now it just feels like the yips at a certain point where you're just like, I know you can shoot the ball a little bit. He shot 39% from 3 over a 3-season sample.
Yep.
Like, that's not insignificant. I don't know, but he's clearly in his own head about it. You can see it with the body language stuff. That's kind of why it's the most depressing to watch, because it doesn't feel like it's, a scheme thing, a rotation thing, a coaches being dicks to him. Like, I don't know. He just has to get out of it, I guess, is the best thing.
Yeah.
It's probably going to end up with him getting moved to another team for pennies on the dollar, and then he's going to shoot 50% for 50 games in a row, just to like equalize it. And that's what I think is happening.
All right. Well, Keith, there's the pitch. Do you want this guy that's horrible at basketball now? Oh, also, he makes like $25 million.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not totally out. The fit's pretty good.
At this point,
like we've been rolling out weird guys at small forward. I mean, if we could piece together if we could keep Marcus Smart and find a way to match the salary of Wiggins. I mean, if Wiggins is being given away, this is the type of thing where like,
I wonder if they wouldn't just try to get like cap relief to get out of the contract at this stage. I really think that like it I don't know. Have you looked at their
tax bill? Yeah.
Their basketball reference to their contracts? Like they're like, they got, it's all through. They'll take any lifeline they can get at this point. So
let's do it. Let's man, I'll throw a Kennard and we need like one more Kennard and a Zaire. We might be getting pretty close.
Can I just point something out too? every time Andrew Wiggins has been traded in his career, he's won a championship wherever he's gone. So, facts.
That's the market inefficiency.
Yeah.
Take the worst Andrew Wiggins contract in the NBA and you'll win a title within 5 years.
It's a good deal.
Brilliant.
I appreciate you guys. Hop.
All right, but yeah, so now we're buying, basically. We're going the other direction. We're saying the Grizzlies want to be good next year, even if they get a player of Andrew Wiggins caliber, someone in that mold. They're not going to be good enough this year to win enough games that it will really matter. They're going to be one of the bottom 10 teams in the league. So I'll skip over some of these ideas that I had here, which were more like just to sell off and get picks or whatever.
Yeah. So that's the thing where you're not like, you're going to sell off. I think if someone's like, hey, would you take, 500,000. We take out. No, I was joking. But like, would you take a 2 second-round picks for Xavier Tillman? Yes, sure, probably. That's a replaceable guy, a expiring contract. Would you take 3 second-round picks for Luke Kennard? Maybe. But honestly, we want to get back a guy who's probably under contract for next year. So we just have a player. We don't want to lose these players for nothing. You're not
salary slot.
Yeah, you're not. I don't think you're going to give away. You're not going to take something bad back like that Knicks offer you suggested just for the future picks because they want to be super competitive next year. And we've already sort of blown the last 2 seasons of Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. being great. And I know they're still all 25 and younger, but like
they're in their prime now.
Yeah, they're in their prime. Enough messing around. We want to be good next year. So yeah, I don't think there's not going to be some kind of total teardown, but they will, I think, responsibly just kick it around. So what are some where we get players back? Like I want a player, if I'm trading Marcus Smart, I want a player back that can help me next year, not just this year. I want it to help next year.
So this was someone, it's very similar to the situation with Wiggins, where right now his value is probably lower than it should be. I think he's a good player because your guys' problem isn't defense. Your guys' problem is offense. And that's kind of been the issue. So I thought maybe you could do Kevin Huerter, Davion Mitchell, and a first for Marcus Smart.
So that's a super interesting one. That's one where the problem is it's once again, like, I think they envisioned Marcus Smart. I think the idea was he was going to be in the closing lineup. Sure. He was going to be like a small forward, or Bane's going to be a small forward. And again, that's not ideal. I like this one specifically because like we need someone to literally dribble a basketball tonight. Like, I don't want to go through the rest of the year praying Derrick Rose is healthy and or needing Smart and Bane to play 40 minutes a night. Like that's one where you're getting Davion Mitchell, you're getting Huerter, who's like a proven rotation level NBA player. Yeah. If you have Luke Kennard and Desmond Bane on your roster, do you need Kevin Huerter? Not really. But I don't hate it. And then I wouldn't want like the Kings pick this year. That's one honestly where I'd be like, yeah, let's kick it several years down the road.
I have good news for you.
Yeah,
they traded their first round pick for Kevin Huerter.
So
they don't even have their first round pick right now.
I mean, that's honestly one where, like a giveaway, that's one where honestly I would think about a giveaway for Harrison Barnes. We're like they're kind of done with Harrison Barnes, and Harrison Barnes is what he is. And at this point, it's like, yeah, he could be the 8th man on next year's Grizzlies team. That seems fine. So, the Kings are an interesting trade partner where I would think about it. I'm not excessively moved to make that deal just because, like, how good is this Kings pick going to be? Because, like, De'Aaron Fox is ascending, it seems like.
Yeah, he's been
and they got a lot of good stuff going. And, like, all of a sudden, Malik Monk's amazing. And you're like, they just kind of picked up Malik.
Be able to keep him, though.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
they have his early bird rights. They don't have his full bird rights. So they can give him like 150% of the amount of money he makes. But if the Magic just throw a bag at him this offseason, what if they give him $22 million a year and he leaves? Like that.
Malik Monk has been like the strangest underpaid player of the last. Like he just can't get a deal. Like for whatever reason,
Daryl Morey listened to me in 2020. He would have been on the Sixers on a.
He didn't work out in the Hornets for whatever reason. There was like stuff, and he wasn't that good for the Hornets. But then like everywhere else he's gone, he's basically done like these make good contracts, and he's made good, but he still hasn't cashed in.
Yeah, he had stuff off the court. Let's just say.
Yeah.
But so that is a trade. The Harrison Barnes, Kevin, can you tell me if Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes for Smart and Conchar works in the trade machine, Sam? I think it might.
Harrison Barnes and Conchar?
It would be Harrison Barnes and Huerter for Smart and Conchar in the trade machine? I'm just curious.
Because
I know that Harrison Barnes makes like 18 million, Smart makes like 20 million. You're
Yeah.
getting close. You might need to include.
What's
another
Herder even
salary.
make? I have no
Herder
idea.
makes like 14
Okay,
or 15.
and so Conchar only counts for like 2.6 this year.
Oh,
Yes,
that's why.
exactly.
So
That's
it's
why
way
it's
low.
impossible.
And
you would need to you just make it Luke Kennard instead. Though.
there's one of
Oh,
those
yeah.
just oh
You
yeah.
wouldn't need Luke
That
Kennard
makes
if
it
you
harder.
got
You
Herder.
wouldn't need Luke Kennard if you got Herder. That one's interesting. It's like, is that all worth one first round pick? I don't know. I mean, this all falls to whatever your belief in Marcus Smart is. And you know, the big monologue you went on earlier, Porter, when you're talking about, like, you know, was this your big move, like your all-in move the first time, or, you know, or like Sam, like saying, like, if this is the first time the Grizzlies actually made an aggressive, we're trading our picks to get a guy to make us better. Like, when you think about it in the context of the Grizzlies and the players that came in and out, that's when it gets very depressing, where it's like, yeah, we traded for Marcus Smart. We traded Tyus Jones and 2 firsts for Marcus Smart a year after trading D'Anthony Melton for Roddy. That sucks. You know,
all of it on the whole.
Yeah.
Shit.
And then if you pull back later, you're like, yeah, we had 3 extra first round picks, and we had Dylan Brooks and Tyus Jones and Kyle Anderson and D'Anthony Melton, and all those guys had value that we could have traded for, and we turned all of that into Jake LaRavia, David Roddy, Luke Kennard, and Smart. You're like, what? That really sucks.
Yeah.
But if you just look at the deal on its own and you say, okay, we traded, you know, a couple of weaker first round picks and Tyus Jones to get Marcus Smart because we actually believe, if the front office actually believed this is a perfect guy to relieve some of the pressure off of Ja and Bane in the half court and to fill that maybe defensive role that Dylan Brooks was playing, if they actually truly believed in that, then I don't think they're going to be moved by, you know, Herder and a pick or Harrison Barnes and a pick or whatever.
That makes sense. Sam, the war crime that you have pulled up is disgusting, and I will never. Why would you do this to the Grizzlies?
I can't comment on any Fanspo trade site that has a failed on top of it. It's just principled by me.
So
I'm not gonna. Life's too short.
It's failed because these guys are tradable in 6 days. The money actually works. So it's only failed because of the
Sam,
trade restrictions on D'Angelo Russell and
we need to read what the trade is because this is gross.
So
this get Clay Capella and D'Angelo Russell.
Yes.
How many picks are they getting with this? Because those guys stink right now.
Clint Capella's good.
Clint Capella has been bad for the Hawks this year.
Clint Capella, I think I got in an argument with Trey Kirby about him being good. And Trey thought he was good. So I'm like, that guy knows. He watches way more Hawks than I do. Capella's an interesting one because we just need a center. And I'm a little bit done praying Steven Adams and Brandon Clark are okay. And so, like, ideally, you'd get a center who isn't exactly the same as far as the genre of player, as in lob catcher, not a shooter. Like, I don't really want Steven Adams, Brandon Clark, and Clint Capella all on my team. But I would like to have a single player who can catch a lob and a single player who is not a replacement level 13th man center. So I am intrigued by the Hawks wanting to get rid of Clint Capella because of luxury tax reasons and maybe being there for him as a potential landing spot.
So I'll say this much. I haven't watched a ton of Hawks this year. I've been watching recently because I've psyoped myself into thinking Dejounte Murray is the last piece for the Philadelphia 76ers. Clint Capella can't finish around the rim anymore.
Yeah.
He's like shooting like 62% around the rim. And like, this is a guy
that means he's shooting 62%.
Yes, exactly. Because he doesn't have game outside of that. So,
but that's
my thing with Capella is
Jaren
like,
Jackson Jr. though. That's the difference. It's not a Okongwu next to him.
But like if you're what Keith is saying is that they had this vision for Marcus Smart being kind of the 5th starter, 4th guy, whatever, that will provide a little bit more playmaking juice than Dylan Brooks, but serve a similar defensive value and maybe even have more potential as like a volume shooter with the team. If you turn around, you turn him into Clint Capella, and I know that Adams and Clark aren't healthy right now, but like, then you go into next season without that. Like, they've been playing him like a wing, and you're getting another guard in D'Angelo Russell in this trade.
No, you're right. I need something to do this deal. Like, I'm not. Yeah, this is not a.
I would need like 2 first-round picks to consider this.
Well, the Lakers are probably giving up a pick. We should probably say the trade, which we have not finished yet.
Yes.
So Well, the Grizzlies would get Clint Capella and D'Angelo Russell to help with, some of the juice, because as we've said, offense is the problem right now. And Clint Capella providing everything that Jaren Jackson Jr. does not. The Hawks would receive Marcus Smart and Rui Hachimura. The Lakers would receive Dejounte Murray and Luke Kennard. So the thought here behind this trade is, when I watch the Grizzlies, and you tell me if I'm wrong about this, Keith, I think that the Grizzlies' mortal flaw is that they cannot fucking rebound to save their lives. The thing that they need desperately more than anything else is rebounding, and rebounding from the big position that can release Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Sisyphusian hell that he has been in for a year and a half here of just everyone clowning him out. 3 rebound game for Jaren Jackson Jr. I don't know.
He's had 2 9-rebound games recently. I saw Keith.
Yeah. He had like 28 and 10 and 31 and 9 in consecutive games.
Back.
I'm just saying.
He's so back.
He's back. So
he's back.
It's fixed.
2-game sample.
2-game sample. It's fixed. Clint Capella, no matter how bad he is one of the best rebounders in the NBA. Like
mostly rebounding his own misses, but yes, continue.
The best rebounder in the NBA. I'm just saying.
He's a very good rebounder. I'll give you that.
Yeah. If you look, you can't clown him for it being 62% around the rim and then say, oh, but he misses all of his shots. So what you're telling me is he's an 80% around the rim 3-point shooter if he's rebounding all his misses.
Well, I think you got your wires crossed there. But anyway,
no,
continue.
because if you think about it, if he's rebounding all of his misses, then he's just racking up.
It's the Andre Drummond theory.
Yeah,
Jokic
exactly.
does this a lot too, where they're like, Jokic had 20 rebounds. I'm like, I saw 2 possessions where he got 3 rebounds of his own misses, but that's still valuable. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. I think that there is a framework here if you're trying to, I'm operating under the impression, I don't think you can count it. This is the second straight year Steven Adams has missed, 60 games or 40 games at least.
He didn't miss that many.
No, he didn't. No, it was the end of the season last year, and then it was the same injury that never healed. So before then, he'd been relatively healthy.
Yeah. Okay. And he also, keep in mind, Steven Jackson is the world's oldest 30-year-old.
Steven Adams, you mean?
Yeah,
Steven Jackson. Steven Adams.
Steven Adams like just turned 30.
Yeah, and he feels 45.
Although Bismack Biyombo is supposedly like 31. Come on now.
Bismack Biyombo, just coming off of the streets every 6 months to help a team has just been a hilarious thing.
I would say the more I look at that trade, the more I'm repulsed by it.
Okay.
Like the Grizzlies do need rebounding, but they need rebounding. They need either Steven Adams, like pure amazing screener, rebounder. Steven Adams legitimately is one of the best 5 rebounders in the NBA, like when he's healthy, flat out.
He's also one of the best screeners, which is why
but they need dudes who aren't the bigs to rebound. Like they've had problems that like their shooting guard, their point guard, their small forward were all bad rebounders. That's another reason why it was sad to see Melton and Kyle Anderson go, because those guys were elite rebounders for their position. Mm-hmm. That's one of the great things about Vince Williams Jr., the one bright spot of this season. Like Vince Williams Jr. is an unbelievably good rebounder. And we have to shout out, by the way, that 2022 draft night, which sucked for the Grizzlies, the 47th pick of the draft was Vince Williams Jr. Like that's another looks like an amazing hit. So like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have traded Anthony Melton for Roddy, but like you once again hit on, it looks like a deep cut in the second round because Vince Williams is here to stay. The guy's legitimately good. Yeah. But I think this team, like if they're going to trade for a player, if they're going to trade Marcus Smart for a player who's going to stick on the team, it's going to be less about the stopgap like Clint Capella would be. It's going to be someone who I think ideally provides some shooting at the 5, or it's going to be, I would think, a small forward, like a cleaner fit. My negative takeaway from the Marcus Smart thing, and we had the smallest sample size of seeing him play with Desmond Bane and Ja Morant, is that doesn't make sense to anybody in their brain as like the ideal NBA fit. Like 3 guys, all 6'4" and smaller. Like that's fun, but like, you're going to close with that? You're going to guard Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown with that? If you theoretically make it to your dream destination of the finals, you're going to guard Kevin Durant and Devin Booker with that? Like I don't think you can have that many smaller players be like your full-time lineup. So if we trade Marcus Smart, and now I don't know who the theoretical player would be, it's like, I got to have somebody who's taller, who maybe is your more natural, perhaps an Andrew Wiggins type who, who fills in more naturally and then can be like that ideal fourth or fifth starter alongside the Ja, Jaren, Des core.
I'm so sad Grizzlies fans aren't going to be able to see the playoff switch that gets thrown with Marcus Smart every year, where he all of a sudden goes from being one of the worst, most injured regular season players to saving like 3 playoff games every season. So it's a bummer.
They got mad at me. The Celtics fans got mad at me because I said don't trade with the Celtics because he had been so bad until recently, Marcus Smart. Because they got Kristaps Porzingis out of the trade, who's been
Andrew Holiday
incredible.
In a sign and trade, though, essentially.
Okay.
How did they get the picks?
Trade.
No one knows that still.
No, exactly. They got the picks and an all-star for a guy who is a nice role player. Like at the end of the day, Marcus Smart is a nice role player.
My live reactions to that trade, because it comes out, little pieces at a time, and we don't see the beautiful full picture. We just see a tiny corner of the frame.
Yeah.
And it's like, we get Marcus Smart. Like, we got Marcus Smart just for helping the Celtics get Porzingis? Yes, that's awesome. And then it's like, we're giving him Tyus Jones. Okay, all right, that makes sense. And then it's like, wait, we're sending 2 first-round picks? Like, I thought we were helping out. I thought we saved the Brogdon deal. Like, we swooped in, and we were the savior of the deal. And it's like, dude, that's amazing. We got Smart out of this. And then it was like, we paid full price. That's like, that wasn't a deal. That's like, it's like you go to the bar, you're like, hey, a bucket of Coronas is 6 for $15. You're like, that's not a deal, that's a price. Like, that's the price. Exactly. That's the price of Coronas, man.
That's where I'm like,
that's a rate. That's not a deal.
Yeah. That's why but I don't think that the Grizzlies should look at it as like a sunk cost, only because the pick that you gave up in last year's draft, the Warriors pick hurts. Because the Warriors you don't think we wouldn't want the draft rights to Marcus Sasser? I would punch my coworker in the face for Marcus Sasser right now.
My language.
We literally have no point guard on our roster. We have Derrick Rose injured, Ja Morant injured, and Jacob Gilyard, the shortest player in the NBA. Those are our only dribblers. You tell me I could have the draft rights to Marcus Sasser?
It's true. It is true.
And a lottery pick from the Warriors?
Yeah.
I was despondent on draft night when I found out we traded that pick. I was despondent, and Troll was making fun of me, and he doesn't understand he's the best guard on the Detroit Pistons.
No.
He doesn't understand this. Yeah,
it's true.
He doesn't understand this.
I was the one who told you who Marcus Sasser is. I know,
and you
Marcus
don't
Sasser's
appreciate
good.
him. That's
I don't think he makes a difference.
Don't blame us for not knowing who draft prospects are until they start playing in the NBA.
I don't blame you for that at all. But anyway,
lord your knowledge over me.
I'd just like to point out Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard for Drew Holiday work straight up. Like, let's make a deal.
You can't trade for Marcus Smart. It's been less than a year.
Fuck.
We have to. But it can be touched though if we trade Marcus Smart to somebody else.
Oh
can we trade him back?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or somehow?
No. It can't work like that unless it would have to be a step ladder trade, but you couldn't aggregate the salary. Like, you could trade him to the Sixers, and then the Sixers could trade him to the Celtics.
Yeah, what? Sorry, I got to run shortly, but what's your Sixers offer?
I have multiple. We haven't been able to get to it because we've just been going.
I like to talk, man. I'm sorry.
You're the one who brought up Marcus Smart.
No, I'm saying I want.
Yeah, what's your Sixers offer? Because I'm telling you right now, I've got some ideas.
Okay, so before you get out of here,
yeah,
I wanted to see Sam's soul die a little bit because I had a few trades here that where Marcus Smart ends up on the Sixers and Marcus Smart ends up on the Heat. Which the Heat would be just, oh my God.
Kyle Lowry coming home?
Let's be honest. Yes, I did.
We drafted Kyle Lowry.
I know.
Villanova
guy.
I knew you knew. That was for the listeners.
The team that really needs him is the Bucks, but they have nothing to give up. Like Bobby,
they have zero things.
Yeah, they have nothing to give up, so it's not even worth talking about. But the Sixers offer would be, I don't even know if the Sixers would be interested, to be entirely honest, even though Marcus Smart does fit what they have theoretically said. They want two-way players, ball handler, blah, blah, blah. It was basically Tobias Harris and a first-round pick for Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard.
Send it in.
You love Tobias Harris. Let's go. You're the only guy I know that likes Tobias. So this is
you guys, yeah, the Sixers fans I always see just hating on Tobias, and I'm just like, he's just a dude. He's like a good dude. He's a good NBA basketball player. Like, in a vacuum, do you want to be paying him $40 million? How's that money work? That money doesn't make any sense that you just said.
It does, because Luke Kennard makes how much? 13
like
million?
14, I thought. Something, yeah.
All right, hold on. Well, we
so
can
14, 34.
Don't worry. If we're getting Tobias Harris's contract off the books, I know it's
here's how we'll do it. I don't know if this is legal. Do we have any capologists in here? Can we do a thing where we match the salary, but then we also have another player go into our disabled player exception?
I don't think you can trade into a disabled player exception. I might. No, you can.
I think you can.
As long as the player is in the final year of their deal.
There you go. We have a lot of those. Marcus Morris. Can I introduce
D'Anthony Melton?
No, not D'Anthony Melton.
You have Marcus Smart. You have Patrick Beverley. I'm not about to sit and watch the Sixers take away minutes from my D'Anthony Melton.
Deal's off. The deal's off.
So this is so funny. After Trill reacted to D'Anthony Melton shooting at the rim for like a month there, like a loved one was being tortured in front of him.
You
like Mr. Blonde.
I thought I passed on. I gave you my blessing as like you, my child, are now in charge of carrying the banner for D'Anthony Melton. And I got to say, I see some of your behavior on social media.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe you don't. I feel like you don't appreciate what you have. I feel like I'm getting some of that. I feel like I'm starting to see people throwing out stats about shooting percentages. It's like, oh, apparently someone does not understand my D'Anthony Melton, and I thought they did.
The thing about D'Anthony Melton is that
you're talking to the crowd right now.
He cannot finish around the rim if it's contested to save his life.
No, he's not very good at that. No.
But he's very good at a lot of other things that help the Sixers, and I'm very fortunate for him.
You know what he's good at? He's good at grabbing his missed layup.
That's right. That's why he's an elite rebounding guard.
That's right.
We figured it out. Every good rebounder just misses a lot of shots.
Man, Vince Williams Jr.'s best play from like the Suns game, he got like 2 offensive rebounds, and they're like, everyone, and me included, I'm like, that play was made by Vince Williams Jr., and it's like, yeah, he missed a layup to start the possession. like if he just made the layup, we would have gotten the points immediately. But then he stole 2 rebounds, and it was incredible. Gave it for a back-breaking 3 for Desmond Bane. No, so what's your offer? Tobias Harris and a first? What's my first?
I mean, look, we only can trade far out kind of first for ours. We have a Clippers pick that's unprotected, but I don't think they would trade that unprotected. And then we have one of these fake firsts that's like the worst of 3 teams first, the Thunder.
I need Paul Reed.
Clippers. We can't trade Paul Reed in season.
Oh,
he has a no trade clause. And get this weird. This is what Danny Ainge put into his contract so that we would match it. The team that he's on has to win a playoff series in order for his contract to get
that was the best. I forgot that. That was the best.
So we can't trade him because he'll just say no. He has.
You don't have any. Can we have Furkan Korkmaz?
You can absolutely have Furkan Korkmaz. You can have as many Furkan Korkmaz as you want.
Can Furkan play the 1 or the 5? We kind of need a. I kind of need a 1 or a 5.
A piece, actually.
I need a.
When everyone's like half dead on the team with injuries,
give me both your Tennessee guys.
Absolutely, done.
We'll sell this to the season ticket holders. We're bringing Knoxville and Memphis together. We got Tobias Harris and Jaden Springer coming home.
There we go.
To 2 cities that hate each other.
Yep. Yeah, they were linked to Springer
under one banner of one pretty racist state. We'll bring them all together. It'll be awesome.
Perfect.
I like Tobias. Like, listen, Tobias, he could be. He's not going to age into being much of a small forward anymore. But like, he can play alongside Jared in the front court as long as we have a Vince Williams Jr. probably rebounding at the 3. I don't know. I have a soft spot for Tobias. I feel like he's maligned for his contract, and he's the kind of player that like the core 4 Grizzlies, like the Zebo, Marc Gasol Grizzlies, we needed a young Tobias in the worst way. Like that's all we needed. That's the player we needed. Just some guy who could give me 18 points and be fine at everything else to below average everything else.
Well, you could have a 30-year-old Tobias right now, and we got to figure out how the rest of the contracts work. But it's a done deal. I'm calling Daryl Morey right now.
The picks you offered didn't sound that great. It does sound like also we can sign Tobias next year for the full MLE, right?
I don't think he's getting much more than that, unless
I feel like Tobias is someone. I mean, it depends when the musical chairs stop and whoever gets left out. Who's the Kelly Oubre of this year? Maybe I could. That guy could be interesting for. Untouchable.
He's too close to my. I have gone from
untouchable Oubre. Yeah, all right.
I've gone from being like not crazy about Oubre to like I will never let him not be a Sixer.
I mean, we have to
do everything in our power to keep him.
I think the Grizzlies would be better off keeping Marcus Smart and then just convincing Tobias Harris to take that. That's whatever. Fair. 2-year, $26 million is second-year player option if you get a better, something like that.
Yeah. No, you guys will definitely be interested.
That would be the first time we've used our full MLE, despite having it available to us. I believe Kyle Anderson was the last time.
Small markets, man.
Yeah,
we
were the cheapest playoff team last year.
Let's go. What an accomplishment. Hang the banner.
What an accomplishment, man. We did not use our full MLE. We signed Derrick Rose for the minimum. I believe the league kicks in for that money.
Amazing.
They do. Yeah, they piecemeal. They pay whatever the minimum is. They supplement that.
We could have probably used another. Like, we knew we needed point guard depth in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
We knew Steven Adams was returning from an injury. And like we probably needed, and we knew Brandon Clark had a torn Achilles in the offseason. Like we knew that coming into this year, and the front office bean counters rubbed their hands together and said, Derrick Rose.
Amazing. You did it. Hey, you like young Ja Morant? What if we got you old,
ancient Ja Morant?
Very old Ja Morant who can barely move anymore.
He went to college here.
Yep.
Remember that?
It's like the Christmas Carol. It's like Ghosts of Future Ja.
I'm also using he went to college pretty loosely. He played basketball.
He legally was enrolled at a college. Yeah.
All right, he was enrolled on a college.
Yes.
Keith, we're going off the rails here. I need to know before you get out of here.
Yeah.
I have 3 trades. I want you to tell me if you're interested at all in any of these, and I think the answer is going to be no. Markelle Fultz and a first for Marcus Smart.
Markelle Fultz and a first?
Yes. He's expiring.
Markel's latest 30-game knee soreness, kind of cool. No, I can't do that. Luke Kennard to the Magic.
Actually, that makes sense. I don't know.
Luke Kennard. I don't need any draft pick compensation. Luke Kennard for Fultz, I'm a little interested. Luke Kennard for Wendell Carter Jr., what do I have to include to make this happen? I would love to get another oft-injured center in the door.
He's like 6'10", right? Another kind of not.
Oh, he's at least 6'9". Wendell Carter Jr., Jaren Jackson Jr., honestly, makes me salivate a little bit. I like that. I'm sorry. Let's do 2 more trades. What are the 2 other trades?
The market inefficiency is 2018 centers that were picked high that have juniors in their name. Anyway, the last one that I have, and this is you're probably gonna.
You cheated me one. Was that? Do we go 2 and 1 there?
I have another one here, but you're
too embarrassed to say it. This is great. All right, let's do the last one.
It's horrifying. PJ Tucker, Bones Highland in a first.
Who do those guys play for?
The Clippers.
No, I don't.
I saw Rob saying in the comments earlier, "Can I interest you in PJ Tucker, who has another year after this?"
We could have got. I feel like we could have gotten PJ Tucker for when was that?
Anytime you wanted. He's for free now.
No, I don't want any of those players. The Clippers can trade firsts.
They have one first left,
like a 2030 or something.
Yep. It's
I gotta have a player. That's the whole thing. Like I can't even give away Luke Kennard for nothing because I'm worried we're not going to be able to replace him next year. We can't give away Marcus Smart for just a pick because I don't know how we're going to replace that player next year. I'm fine with trading him for. I don't know. We found out we couldn't come up with a fake player that Jeremy Grant. Like, what's the 3-way deal where we get like a Jeremy Grant and we tried that? We're like, all right, let's try Jeremy Grant instead of Marcus Smart. No, I think we're gonna have Marcus Smart next year. We're just gonna be scrappy and underwhelming for the rest of this year.
All right, last one. I promise.
Okay.
This is literally just for vibes, and I included this one guy because I thought it was funny. Jaden Ivey, good friends with Ja Morant.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
James
His
James
mom
Wiseman.
used to be an assistant coach. Yeah.
Yep. James Wiseman.
No, but okay,
Memphis legend. Played
speaking of allegedly attended. How many hours was James Wiseman physically in Memphis? I don't think it was that many. Like
he might have astral projected.
Yeah, like he went to air quotes went to high school in Memphis. I mean, maybe he actually attended classes there. I don't know there. I don't want to get in trouble.
Well, he's coming home.
Conjecturing.
Yeah.
All right, James Wiseman and Jaden Ivey.
Marcus Smart. They're just trying to get help in Detroit.
Yeah.
And
right.
You're taking a flyer on Ivy?
No, I don't know, because like the Ja and Jaden fit is that's poor. Redundant. And you already have an elite 2 guard in Desmond, so like that one's interesting though. I mean, that would be idiotic for the Pistons, so we can't rule it out. But
I'm vetoing that as the players union because this will literally end with Smart doing the
now the players union is going to step up and help the Grizzlies. Not when Adam Silver suspends Ja Morant for 25 games.
Yeah, the players union. The
players union. CJ McCollum did nothing.
They were too busy. They were too busy. You can get so many deals. You have so much access.
I don't mean to go back to the Ja Morant suspension again, but that also is one of the funny things where like you shouldn't poke and prod at it too much because like the people who said nothing about the 25-game suspension, Ja Morant, the Grizzlies, and the players union. So all of us dumb podcasters on the outside being like, this seems unfair. We should have like appealed. Man, the Grizzlies didn't seem to care. Ja Morant didn't seem to care. The players union didn't seem to care. Maybe, just maybe, it was an okay thing.
They might have some info.
Yeah, they might have had some intel that we didn't get.
That's fair. All right, Keith. Thank you for joining us.
The players union is
shitty, but yes.
Yeah, you're notoriously anti-union. I know that about you.
Yes, this is one of the most anti-union.
You've been anti-labor as long as I've known you.
Yes, absolutely. And I am one of the most. That's the Boston in me, folks. Like, that's Massachusetts pride right there.
Oh, Jesus
With that union shit, go back to New York. That's
incredible. Incredible. All right, Keith, thank you for joining us. Links in the description to follow Keith on all of his platforms. He's fantastic.
Thanks, fellas. It was a pleasure. See y'all.
Yeah, peace.
Oh, boy. All right. So now we continue alone.
Mm-hmm. We're back.
I need to talk to you about some things that I've been experiencing.
Well, first of all, now that we're by ourselves, essentially, Trill here on the channel, official wellness check. I was so alarmed by the Murray profile picture. I was like, this is like, you know how they do those posts where it's like, what could you post to like let everyone know you've been kidnapped? But you have to like not allure the hostage takers, but like you have to let them know that you've been kidnapped. We need to free him, but you're alive and well. Are you going to tell me that you have come along on the Dejounte Murray?
Yes.
Okay.
I literally had it written down right here that I have slopped myself into believing that Dejounte Murray is the savior for the Sixers. Because listen.
MK ultra small lineup. Side slop. Oh fuck.
I am now fully convinced that Dejounte Murray solves all the Philadelphia 76ers problems. And listen to me here. Before I fully lose my mind. All right, ready?
Okay. All right, I'm ready for this. I'm recording this for posterity for your DSM-4 review. DSM-5? I should know this as a social worker, but
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Dejounte Murray is saving the Sixers.
Okay.
I was looking at all of his stats and I was watching him and I was thinking to myself, I always looked at this as negative because I've always been like, he's a ball stopper. He's a selfish player. His defense is overrated. He can't shoot, blah, blah, blah. Then the Chris Haynes report came out and we did a podcast on it. And I kind of convinced myself that he would not fit on the team immediately, all of that stuff. The more I've looked into him, the more I think that he is actually more of a fit for what Morey and Nurse have wanted to build for this team. He's a guy who gets steals. Now, not quite, his steal rate isn't quite as high as it was when he was in San Antonio, when he was more of a role player, but he gets steals. He's a good rebounder for a guard. Once again, that's something that they've looked into that they really like. They've talked about the fact that they want a two-way player, and look, in theory, Dejounte might be a one-way player, maybe a halfway player. I don't even know if he's a full on either side of the court. But what Dejounte does bring to the table for the Sixers and for any team that trades for him, the more that I looked into it, was the off-the-bounce creation that the Sixers are really missing right now. Joel Embiid, obviously the offense runs through him. Everything kind of revolves around him. But late in games, it can kind of get hard to have your offense surrounding a big in the post unless they're Nikola Jokic, basically. And the reason that I bring up Dejounte as a guy who might be a better fit than I had originally anticipated is the catch and shoot numbers are up a little bit this year. The pull-up shooting has been insane this season. He has shot a career high on pull-up threes. Now, it's not a massive sample. He has shot, about 41% on pull-up threes this season. On long twos, he's shooting 50% for the second straight season. He's a guy who could alleviate some pressure from Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey having to carry the entire offense. Maxey, look, I love Maxey to death. Without Embiid, he struggled a little bit as a creator for others because when Embiid's on the court, it kind of opens everything up for Maxey. He can create, he can get easy assists to Embiid and shooters in the corner and blah, 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 and all that stuff. Without Embiid, it's a little bit more of a taxing thing for him. So when Joel's on the bench, him and Maxey essentially could work off of each other. And in addition to that, Maxey's pull-up shooting has been bad this year. He's actually been one of the worst pull-up shooters in the NBA. He's been fantastic at everything else in terms of getting downhill, getting to the basket, getting the line more. The catch and shoot numbers are still fantastic. The defense has been better. His playmaking has improved. The only thing I will say is that his pull-up shooting has kind of fell off a cliff. You know who the two worst pull-up shooters in the NBA are for three-pointers this season that take a good amount?
I think I have an idea of at least one of them. And my beautiful Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum and Tyrese Maxey are the two worst three-point pull-up shooters in the NBA this season for guys that take a regular amount of them.
James Franco with the noose around his neck first time.
Yeah. But the reason that I say this to you is the fact that this is what I anticipated having Maxey struggle with coming into the season was he's the lead guard now. Teams can prepare for him, put guys on the perimeter, send different looks at him, make his shots really tough. He's had to make a ton of tough shots. His shot quality is very, very low in terms of the shots that Tyrese Maxey is taking because he isn't an elite self-creator, and defenses are now focusing all of their just tactics on slowing him down. And to an extent, it has worked recently when the shot hasn't been falling. The shot still looks good. You can tell that a lot of shots are rimming out. They're not bad shots. He's taking all the time, but the Dejounte thing is basically you get a second ball handler in there who, at least in theory, maybe with Nick Nurse and Joel Embiid, can have a revived defensive part of his game in terms of getting steals, getting the team out running. I know he struggles a little bit at a point of attack, but he's got incredible tools. He's a good athlete. He's got long arms, and you just hope that you can kind of revive him on defense and that the offense complements Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey enough that you don't have to worry as much about his catch and shoot stuff and his shaky history of shooting when you have a guy who can be a secondary ball handler who can work with both of those guys. And especially when Embiid or Maxey are off the court, might work really well with them, actually.
So what you're saying is Tobias Funke looking at his wife,
Lindsay.
Lindsay, all these Atlanta Hawks deluded themselves into thinking that he could work next to a primary playmaker who demands the ball. But it might work for our
But
primary
that's not
playmaker.
what the situation is. Tyrese Maxey is one of the 5 best off-ball guards in the NBA.
True.
Trae Young
one other
is
player.
Hold on. Trae
Okay.
Young is literally arguably the worst off. Trae Young, look, I know Trae's awesome numbers and he's a very good offensive player, and you watch the games, and I feel like I've taken the boomer pill. I'm going to be honest. The more I watch the Hawks, because I've watched the Hawks recently, and I'm not saying it's all Trae's fault, but I watch the Hawks and it just feels miserable to play. Like, imagine if you were to play with Luka Doncic or James Harden, but you were also every single year, no matter what, you were in the play-in. Would you be happy? Because right now they're below the play-in, actually. Would you be happy if you played with a ball-dominant player who, yes, if you are a play finisher, you can work with him. You can, if you're a Clint Capella or a Dorian Finney-Smith or whatever, you'll work great with him. But if you're a guy that wants to have the ball more, or who at least wants to work off the ball more, and be kind of, a part of an offense that is a collective unit, playing with Trae Young might drive you literally insane.
Okay, fair. However, have you considered that, well, I was going to say that the Spurs were trying to trade for him back, but I guess that just
was so funny
to your theory. That would be, could you imagine the Hawks actually doing that, like trading him back for like a first-round pick?
One of the picks they sent them?
Yeah. Like,
but honestly, I know that sounds insane.
It does.
It would be insane because Sham said that they were interested in Dejounte, whatever.
Yeah.
I think I literally hold on. I think I literally said on the last episode that he would help them. Did I not? When we were talking about Wemby? When I was like, and I was like,
we did.
I think
we made that joke.
Yeah, we were like, Dejounte Murray would actually really help them because they just need a normal ball handler who can create his own offense and maybe set up other guys. But like the thing about Dejounte's Spurs run, those were, if you looked at the efficiency and all of that, it was very much a pump and dump situation. Like it was very much, let's send him to let's build up his value. Let's get him an all-star nod. Let's get him to another team and get real value out of that. I'm not saying that's what he would be on the Sixers because he was like a Russell Westbrook type on that team. What I'm trying to say here is that I think that if he were to go to a team where he can play a little bit more team basketball, that there might be a role for him. I don't even know if it's necessarily on the Sixers. I think there is a role for him that is on a team that plays more collectively if the shooting continues, because that's the real question. The larger scope is that he's an average to below average shooter. The recent last 2 or 3 years shows that he's an average to above average shooter, and particularly very good on long twos, which usually means guys can shoot. If they could shoot long twos and they're good free throw shooters, he's basically either new age DeMar DeRozan, or he's a guy that could potentially become a decent 3-point shooter in the right situation. And right now he's having a good shooting season. So like any trade that involves the Sixers getting him I still think Tobias Harris has to be going out because I just don't think that he fits with Tobias Harris. But I kind of think that this could be an opportunity for them to buy really low on a player who in theory you have to stretch your mind a little bit, but like, how many times have we done this where guys are like seen as losers or bad players? Spencer Dinwiddie with the Mavs, they go to the conference finals. The fucking Aaron Gordon with the Magic, Andrew Wiggins with the Wolves go on to win titles with their teams. Like, I just don't think it's insane to think that a player that at least has the talent and the skill set that he has, if he were to accept a role on another team, could figure it out. And I actually think he checks. The Sixers are the 5th worst pull-up shooting team in the NBA this season. In the playoffs, that's not going to work. You can't have no guys who can create their own shot and get pull-ups and not get pull-ups and have an efficient offense at the higher levels.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I I can't get there with Dejounte Murray. Like, you know, I don't know. I have to blame
Zach
someone on
Lowe
the
said he
Hawks.
likes it.
Zach Lowe's washed. We have to come to terms with this. Find out.
You have to blame someone on the Hawks because you still think Trae Young's a winning player, and he's not.
Did I say winning player? I said good player.
He's a very good offensive player, undeniably. Look, there's no one in the world that would say that Trae Young is not a talented offensive scorer, playmaker, all that stuff. Yeah. There's also a large amount of evidence that everyone hates playing with him.
That's true.
That might not be a sustainable thing. Also, and I'm not blaming the player that just got traded there.
Okay, and that's fair. I just think, what are the Hawks in 3-point percentage in the NBA? Like, what's their rank? It's got to be like, for a team that trades as much as like, or that, you know, has Trae on it, it's got to be like bottom. It's got to be near the bottom. I'll look it up, but
Trae. But the thing with Trae, because Trae is actually sneaky, not a very good 3-point shooter.
He's not. No, he's like 35% career or something like that.
But it's because he takes the most insane. He could be a 40% 3-point shooter if he just took normal shots. Yeah. He just takes them from fucking half court all the time, and you're like, why are you? Like the other night watching the game, I was like, it's the thing that's frustrating with Trae, and I actually think that the having watched a little bit, the defense is better this year. Like, it's not quite the worst defender I've ever seen. Like, he does try on that end at least, which is, you know, you got to give him credit for that at the very least. But watching him, it is a little bit frustrating when, like, in the preseason, we were seeing him work off the ball more. We were seeing a little bit more diversity to his skill set. He was cutting back on some of the bad shots, and he's still such an incredible passer and playmaker that you could live with it. And like, the more I watch, the more I'm just like, he always slips back into the old habits. And that's just kind of the reality of his game. And he's good enough offensive player that why would he want to take less shots, or why would he want to, you know, take a step back? This is, like you said, regardless of if it drives me insane, he was the best player on a conference finals team. And even if that was Mickey, he's made all-star teams. Like, he's not taking a step back is the thing. And I think that the reason why the Dejounte fit doesn't work is defensive. It's not offensive. Offensively, they're fine when both of those guys are on the court. Offensively, when they're split up, they're fine. Like, they have a 120 offensive rating with just Dejounte on the court. They have a 122 offensive rating with just Trae on the court, no Dejounte, and then a pretty good offense with them. It's just the defense that doesn't fit with those guys. And that's what I worry about with the Sixers more so than anything else.
But the thing is, in my mind, the Hawks should be like pretty similar to the Pacers. Like, in my mind, like with Trae, I don't think, maybe this is just me, like that. I watch Halliburton and I watch Trae, and I don't think that, I mean, I guess Halliburton's like a better shooter, but I really don't see those guys as terrifically different players, to be honest. Like, I feel like that they're pretty similar. I know Halliburton's bigger, can defend a little better. I know he's a better shooter, that has better, you know, gravity with some of this stuff. But I feel like there is the Hawks fundamentally, by trading Herter and bringing in Murray, fundamentally broke what you should be prioritizing when you're building around Trae Young. And because
they thought he was a good defender, and he hasn't been for them. That's really what the bottom line of this is. I worry less about DeJounte's fit with the Sixers offense than I do with the Sixers defense. And that's where I have to trust Joel Embiid and Nick Nurse to get the best out of a guy who, by the way, I know I'm fucking literally just completely. If you were to sew together the footage that I said about Dejounte Murray a month ago to where I am today, I sound like an insane person because I am. and part of the reason why is because now I've seen the light and I can't be denied. But like, I just can't believe that a guy made an all defense team, even if he was overrated on the other side. Like, I can't believe that a guy made an all defense team and is just such a bad defender now that I can't. And also I want to add to this. The Sixers' interest, I think, is real, is what I'm trying to get at, because all season we've heard them attached to Zach LaVine and Pascal Siakam and all these players, and immediately someone pushes back and says, we're not interested in them. We did not get pushback. Kyle Neubeck said on his podcast he didn't get much pushback when he asked about it. So I think that this is something that if you might have to stretch your imagination a little bit for what it can be, the fit on the team. But I've basically talked myself into it, and if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be disappointed now.
That's fine. Because I guess the thing about Murray is that, like, hypothetically, there's a guy who played like that in San Antonio. Like, you know, like, and hypothetically, there shouldn't be any reason why that fit doesn't work. Really, what you're saying is we have confidence in Nick Nurse to get buy-in from Dejounte Murray to take a step back and be like the clear third best player on a team instead of, you know, because he went from being the best player on a dog shit team to being a second best player on a mid to bad team. And now you would need to be the third best player on a good team.
Yes.
And will he make that adjustment after being the best player on a team? You know, so yeah, that's the thing. And you're buying into, you know, Nick Nurse being able to connect and, let's say, link in with him and get him to buy in on that.
He would love it. He would love it if he was able to link in.
Link it with Shout out to Mount Joy, by the way. I can't believe I didn't see Kevin O'Connor retweet that the Nick Nurse jam sesh with Mount Joy.
He was jamming with Mount Joy.
Yeah, you didn't see that like TikTok earlier today.
Oh my
God. I said if I cannot speak. If I speak, I get in trouble.
Incredible stuff. Oh my God, he's signing a lifetime contract here, dude. He's never leaving. Coach for life, Nick Nurse. Yeah, so that's kind of what Zach said on his podcast, because they talked about. Did you listen to Zach Lowe and Bobby Marks? No,
I haven't listened to that. So what were they talking about?
I do just want to talk a little bit. Let's just touch a little bit on Dave McMenamin on that podcast, bringing up a trade idea for the Lakers.
You texted me about this.
Terry Rozier and the bad man to the Lakers. Just so shameful.
Is that a first with that? So that must mean LeBron, because McMenamin's a LeBron guy, right? Like, I'm not making that up.
Yeah, I think that's who he's plugged in with. I mean, I'm sure he has contacts in the front office because he writes about the Lakers, but I think LeBron and Clutch is usually the ones that he's echoing, I would imagine.
That's what I'm saying. So does that mean it seems like LeBron just like looked around the league and been like, well, he's a good player for reasons. I want to win. You know, like, I'm not going to have to deal with the pushback because the front office will be the ones making this trade, and they're going to have to eat the PR bullet for trading for Miles Bridges. So that's a pretty savvy move on his part if all he wants to do is win NBA games, you know. So,
and you get Terry Rozier, who's actually good in the trade.
Yeah, who's good. Yeah. So what would that be? It would be like Rui and.
I mean, they only have one first round pick to trade. Windy. Okay, so I think we're going to have, for the second straight offseason, we're going to have a tug of war with LeBron and the Lakers, because Windy said they don't want to trade that first. They're done trading their first. And LeBron is not going to be happy about that. And LeBron's a free agent after the season for the second straight year where he can kind of hang over. He did it 2 off seasons ago. Now he's doing it at this trade deadline. He could hang over their heads like, hey, I'm not staying here forever if you're not pushing in all the chips. And I think the Lakers would be smart to call his bluff and be like, you're not fucking going anywhere, dude. You like living in Los Angeles. You're not going to the Clippers because we'd have to trade you to the Clippers. You can't just, the only way you'd be able to sign in free agency with the Clippers is if one of those guys left. Honestly, 2 of those guys have to leave for them to get cap space. So like, we know you're not going there. Like, we're not doing this. So I think that it's going to be a tug of war between the Lakers front office saying we already traded the pick last year and that didn't work out. We're not trading. I mean, it did work out. They got a conference finals out of it, but it didn't work out in terms of sustaining the team's winning over multiple seasons. And I think that he's going to say, you need to trade it for whatever. Maybe it's that package, Rozier and Miles Bridges or whatever. Or get me multiple guys that can help this year so that we can make a push and try to do what we did last year. I think the Lakers are going to say no. I think they're going to say, we've already tried this and it doesn't work. And you're not going to control this anymore, essentially, because now you're trying to get another coach fired and we're here. And like, I don't know, dude, like every time I hear one of the Lakers, like basically propagandists go on these podcasts and talk about it, it's sounding more and more like, I don't know if LeBron's going to leave after the season. I still don't believe that he does, but like it's sounding more and more like they are kind of sick of having to continue to do this to keep LeBron happy when LeBron is getting older. It's not guaranteeing them any sort of playoff run or championship or whatever.
Bronny James is getting mocked to the Celtics in the second round right now.
On Tankathon?
Yeah.
What's the pick?
It's like 37 or something like that, or one of their second round picks or something. So also LeBron defended the Celtics in the ref show in Indiana last night. So is he laying the groundwork? What's
your signed and trade? Oh, you're doing Drew Holiday. No, Drew Holiday is a free agent.
Yeah, no, you can't. It would need to be like a double sign and trade.
It would need to be Jaylen Brown for LeBron James.
Oh no! Don't trade Jaylen. I hate that.
How many firsts?
I guess if we had how many firsts? No.
How many firsts you taking that contract if you're the Lakers?
The Lakers will be happy to receive that. What are you talking about? They would love that. They would.
We talk about the Lakers. Los Angeles is the only place where cap space is valuable.
Yeah, and they used it on Timofey Mozgov and Luol Deng like 8 years ago.
A decade ago. Yeah, come on.
Last
time they had cap space, they did good with it, but they also had LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the team. They got KCP, Danny Green, but that was 4 or 5 years ago at this point. And it doesn't matter when you have. Look, if LeBron James wants to go to the Boston Celtics, LeBron James is going to go to the Boston Celtics.
I'm doing a bit. That is like the absolute 30th team. That is the absolute last place team LeBron would go to.
I was going to say, I think Miami, which we talked about the delusions of that on the Patreon episode.
Yeah.
We talked about, I mean, honestly, the Sixers, if they kept their cap space, sure, but Daryl Morey and LeBron do not have a good relationship. I don't think that's going to happen. Maxey and LeBron do have a good relationship, though. That is one thing to keep an eye on there. But I just think that this is going to come down to another stare off, and then if they miss the fucking playoffs, oh my god, like it's going to be tabloid fucking central. I bet you Rob Pelinka either loses his job or Darvin Ham falls on the sword or whatever. Like I know they beat the Clippers, but like they treat the Clippers like it's their Super Bowl. I think I'd be willing to as far to go as to say that of all the teams out west, I've pivoted. I think the Clippers might have the second best chance, if not the third best chance, to win the West. They've been on fire recently. They've been incredible. Yeah. I mean, it always comes down to Kawhi and his health. But when they are healthy, I mean, they've been better than the Nuggets this year.
I'm going to be so pissed if after like 4 years of me getting Lucy in the football by I got Lucy footballed with the fucking Timberwolves last year, and I said I'm not doing it again. And then I got Lucy footballed by the Clippers like 3 years in a row, and I said I'm not doing it again. And they're going to be like 2-4 in the West by the time the fucking season's over, and it's going to make me so mad.
The Clippers are. I mean, look, right now I think they're in 4th place in the West.
Yeah, I think that's where they end up. I think that's where they're going to end up is 4th.
But since the dog shit start when they went like 0-5 with Harden, we're like it's over. Every time I watch them, I'm like, wow. They make sense now. I get the trade. I never got the trade for them, but Harden looks better than he ever looked with the Sixers, and even looks better than the last year he looked with the Nets. And once again, Lucy with the football with James Harden in the playoffs always. Yeah. But this is the first team. Like here is what James Harden has done. I just want to tell you what he's done in the last few games. Okay, ready?
Okay. Yep.
James Harden has last night he played amazingly. But he only took 8 shots. He had 19, 7, and 10. He went 6 of 8 from the field. The night before, he went 4 of 13 from the field, 15, 4, and 9, but they almost beat the Lakers. And then a few nights ago, they blew out the Pelicans, and he had 8 points on 2 for 7 and 13 assists. So they can survive the stinkers, is what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah.
Like, they might be James Harden diaper proof, where if Kawhi and Paul George are healthy, there might be a situation where Harden's doo-doo disasters, where he shoots 4 of 13, 4 of 15 in the playoffs, and maybe even he just has less games where he takes less shots and he goes 5 of 9 or whatever from the field, they might be able to survive those. It's incredible. Their turnaround has been nothing short of incredible to me. I can't believe that they've completely turned around and fixed their season, but it's certainly going much better than the Lakers. The two teams that Zach Lowe said that he thinks could work. By the way, did you hear they stole our Dejounte or our Terry Rozier deal?
No, really?
Yeah, they said Terry Rozier to the Heat.
They're listening to us. Bill, Zach, I know you guys are fans. Like, just come on the pod.
Zach and Bobby Marks both said they think that Rozier could potentially end up with the Heat are going to end up with a former Celtic, and you guys are going to play in the playoffs, and he's going to have an incredible series. We know that's happening, right? It's one of 3 guys. Okay, ready? Okay. It's either Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier, or Kelly Olynyk.
My money's on Terry Rozier. Just cooking Drew Holiday down the stretches of games that's what this is fated to be. Like,
I can't wait to look back at this when we're in May, and it's just like, first off, how did the Heat get back into the play-in again, and how are they playing the Celtics in the first round? Terry Rozier has 35 points in game 1.
I'm gonna become the Joker, and I'm gonna demand that Bud supercut every time that I was getting screamed at by everyone saying, Sam, oh, you 10th in net, you've got a 10 net rating. That's never happened before. Why do you hate your team so much? This is so great. And I'll tell you, because I know the playoffs are coming. There's a reckoning coming. God does not want to see me happy. I've gone
really good this year, though. I'm just saying, they're really good. Like, I'm concerned. As a Sixers fan, I'm concerned that this is as someone who I went to Penn State, as some people yell at me for, and I'm a Philadelphia sports fan. I am horrified that we're going to have a Michigan football national championship, which happened last night, a Celtics championship, and a Dallas Cowboys championship in the span of 6 months.
Let me just say the latter two, you do not have to worry.
Cowboys, I'm not as worried about.
I was going to say, yeah.
Celtics, I'm definitely more. I think you guys have been. I know it's the regular season, but you've never been this good in the regular season. You haven't been.
That's fine. We've also never not had Marcus Smart in the.
Let's go.
In the playoffs.
That's the difference.
Unironically, like
you're unbelievable.
That these guys, Marcus Smart has bailed us out of so many different series. Everyone thinks Marcus Smart sucks in the playoffs because there's one like game 5 where Drew Holiday like didn't shit his pants down the stretch. And anyway, we're done. I'm not gonna submarine the thing again. It's fine.
So also, speaking of the Heat, Jimmy Butler just like doesn't play basketball games anymore, I guess.
Yeah, I know
he missed like 2 weeks, and then he came back for 1 game, and then he missed 2 weeks again. He took 3 shots in that game, and he's been out ever since. And the Heat just keep winning. It's just unbelievable. How is this allowed? I feel like they should be disqualified from the playoffs. Can we get them disqualified from the playoffs for fucking playing Jimmy Butler 15 games a year and then still making the playoffs? It's an unfair advantage.
It's got to be awesome to be Jimmy. Like you come in and you just, you have a fun little photo shoot. You do your little thing. You get to be a theater kid. Like, I don't know. It does seem like is this gonna end up being the Miami Heat preparing to like cut bait on Jimmy because he just never plays if they're like fine without him? Like, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I'm to the point where nothing that the Miami Heat does surprises me anymore. Also, Zach said on that podcast, he was like, you got to watch out for the Miami Heat. You always have to keep an eye on the Miami Heat. And then I was like, the last time they made a real trade was Kyle Lowry in 20. Mm-hmm. It's been 3 years. It's been 3 years since they traded for someone. Why do we have to keep an eye on the Miami Heat? If that is a keyword for they're going to be aggressive at this deadline, I'm actually going to be nervous. But they haven't made a trade, and they just draft and sign like rats off the street.
Yeah, no, this is well, and then when a team doesn't trade them Damian Lillard, they cry and whine and say that
Jaime Jaquez is actually better.
Well,
Which
no,
might be
remember when
true.
they said it was like collusion? They wanted like Joe Cronin investigated by the league, and he like didn't want Tyler Hero. Like it was like very awesome. That was awesome. That was so cool. I miss
Yeah.
fans. And then they drafted Twitter user @LocalDingus, who's playing really well.
Yeah. He's
yeah.
been
He's been
hooping.
hooping.
Yeah, absolutely hooping.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tyler Hero himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tyler Hero wanted the collusion investigation, and he was the one getting traded.
He was like, "This is crazy, bro. How did
Yeah.
you not trade for me?"
Yeah.
Incredible stuff.
Being in the cuck chair at the hotel, like, yeah, come on. Sorry, I forgot we were on Patreon. Anyway, if you want to listen to some of the Patreon episodes, go ahead and subscribe.
Sign up for the Patreon, please. Because
Yeah.
last week, especially, was unhinged.
Yeah.
Sam said something that was so unhinged he didn't even say it on the Patreon. So,
Yeah.
So, King, in all seriousness, as a kid from Milwaukee, I'm grabbing me a Dame jersey. Tyler Hero.
That's so true. That's so true, Tyler.
So true. So, all right, moving on from all that. Also, the other team that Zach said, yeah, Zach might be washed. The other team Zach said that he liked Dejounte Murray for was the Warriors. That's the one team I can't see.
What do they need? They need another guy who can't shoot, is short.
He's not short. Why does everyone think Dejounte Murray's short?
Because he is short. He has long arms, but he's short.
How tall do you think Dejounte Murray is?
6'4".
He's 6'5". For a shooting guard, that's tall.
But I'm saying, like, in the spectrum of
He's
basketball
frail.
players, it's short though. They have so many shooting guards and guards. Like, who are they?
I don't think they need him. I agree with that. That's where I was like,
yeah.
they don't need another. And I don't even think they need Smart, even though you can
Sorry,
play Smart as a forward.
When I say short, I don't mean for his position. I just mean in the spectrum of NBA player sizes. Like they
don't need a guard. He's
Yes.
frail too. Is
Yes.
the thing that worries me about DeJounte is actually him getting bullied because he's a little bit frail. Like he's very long arms, 6'5", whatever. I think more so that the Warriors just don't like. The Warriors need they need Pascal Siakam. They need forwards. They need wings. They need guys that can play in the playoffs they need size. And DeJounte has some positional size, long arms, 6'5", whatever, but he certainly is not something that I guess is a secondary scorer, sure, for the Warriors, but I just don't really see his fit. I see his fit on other teams more so than I see on the Warriors. So that's that. Let's talk before we get out of here. I have two more things that I want to hit on, which is Pascal Siakam. Last week we were recording our Patreon episode, and Pascal Siakam, we thought a Kings deal was like imminent. We were like, okay, like, they're aggressively pursuing Pascal Siakam. Those teams are playing tonight. Like, there's clearly going to be a deal that is done maybe after the game or whatever, and we'll hear about it on Friday or Saturday. Well, within 2 hours of that, Shams is like, the Kings aren't interested in Pascal Siakam anymore. And I thought they got on the phone with Masai, but they were in person with Masai. And I thought that it was kind of like, I don't know, some sort of like torture scene from like Full Metal Jacket. He just wanted to Monty McMahon wanted to shoot himself in the head like Kyle after having to negotiate with Masai for more than 20 minutes.
That really is like one of the worst tortures you can like wish upon someone. Is like it really is the waterboarding of the NBA negotiating with Masai is got to be like up there.
You are team X, and you have X young player that Masai wants, Keegan Murray.
Yeah,
can you get through this negotiation without giving up Keegan Murray?
Yeah,
And then it's just Masai on the other side, like dropping down.
Yeah. I don't know. We're back. Like Raptors slop, we had 1 week where it was like the boy who cried wolf with the Raptors slop not being bad, and it's back to being bad now. The well is poisoned.
It's unbelievable. We're like, oh my God, he's finally going to do it.
It's like Princess Bride when he like poisons himself. He just poisons both glasses. Like the Knicks just when you're getting sued, when you're suing Masai, that is the only time when the it's not poisonous.
You
That
fool!
might have
You
been-
fell for one of the classic blunders.
Blunders, exactly. Yeah. Never getting a land war with in Asia, but also never trade with Masai Ujiri when you're not suing him for leverage.
Exactly.
Sean Wallace delivering that line as World Wide West would be very funny.
It's Wallace Shawn, isn't it?
Oh yeah, what did I say?
You said Sean Wallace.
Sean Wallace, yeah, Wallace Sean. You know what I mean?
Okay,
It's,
sorry.
yeah, at least
I'm
these
dyslexic,
guys
it's
with
fine.
two first names. Like, come on.
So, Siakam, in fairness to everyone involved here, have you seen that Siakam's basically doing the thing again where he's like, I'm not going to sign with another team?
Yeah.
He basically said he wouldn't sign an extension with the Kings. I don't know if it's just the Kings, but my thought on this is basically what Siakam wants to try to do. He wants to try to make All-NBA this year. And he potentially would then be able to sign a massive contract with the Raptors in the offseason. But it doesn't feel like the Raptors want to give him that contract because they would have already offered him something. Maybe, okay, whatever. He wants to wait it out. He's not making All-NBA this year unless there's like an incredible amount of injuries. That with this new positionless shit, like he's got to be a top 15 player in the NBA to qualify for the Supermax.
Well, and it's also like just the way that like the new way the league is, nobody tries to get cap space anymore. So you're kind of fucked when you get to the offseason because nobody has cap space except really bad teams.
Yeah. The Sixers are in a unique position, but they might not even have it if they make moves at the deadline.
Right. Like if they trade for Dejounte Murray, like they're
Or
not going to have
whoever.
it. Yeah.
They could only take on like $25 million in salary and they basically lose most of their space because of the maxi cap hold, Embiid being on the books. I mean, you could take it on a little bit more than that, but you're not getting the max cap space at all. Like the Siakam, if Siakam is waiting on that and hoping that the threat of the Sixers being out there can get him paid by the Raptors, I just think they would literally just rather let him go than pay him $50 million a year and then not be able to trade that contract. Like they clearly have not shown that they valued him. They're literally treating him like Andy in Toy Story. I don't want to play with you anymore.
Right.
Because we have Scotty Barnes. Like I think that I honestly think what I've gotten down to is he's either delusional enough to think that he can get that contract from the Raptors in the offseason, which isn't happening, or he's trying to force himself to one of two teams and saying he won't re-sign with the Hawks or the Kings or any of these teams that are interested in him. The Hawks don't even make sense trading for him anymore now that they're like potentially taking a step back. Like they should not even be interested in that at all. But the teams that I think that he might be trying to get a trade to are the Warriors and the Mavs. The Warriors because their pockets run so deep and he would be a good fit there and he could get a lot of money from them this offseason. And also it gives him a chance to potentially reopen the Warriors window and maybe get to the point where they contend either this season or next season. And I think it would just be all around great fit. And then the Mavericks are desperate for defensive talent. Siakam would definitely bring them that. And then they're also desperate just to have any sort of playable forwards because they're starting Derek Jones Jr. and Grant Williams, who's had a down season this year. So, like, I kind of think that I think he's trying to either get to one of those situations because it will help raise his value in contract negotiations. You play with Luka for half a season, you're going to get more money. And also, if the Mavericks trade for you, then you've got all the leverage in the talks because they're not going to want to lose another guy for nothing like they did with Jalen Brunson. Yeah. So that's where I think it's either the Warriors or the Mavs.
But that's the thing though, is that like those teams, I guess that's what you need. You need a team that's kind of up against the wall a little bit, that is, like
it's both those teams.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was going to say they need to be desperate because you need to be willing to put yourself in that situation where Pascal Siakam, like, kind of, can hold your franchise hostage, if you don't want to max him, like he basically, any team that trades for him, he's going to be able to demand a max from them at will. So you've got to
5 years too.
Yes.
At 30 years old.
Yes. So,
which is scary if you're another team, but if you're trading for him, you have to know that when you trade for him.
Yes.
So that's why I think teams aren't willing to give up a ton of value for him. But as we get closer and closer to this deadline, teams will start making real offers, and they'll probably still end up getting an okay haul for Pascal Siakam at the deadline if they do trade him. But I think it's going to be the Warriors or the Mavericks. That's my prediction, especially with this Tyrese Halliburton injury. I don't think the Pacers are going to be pushing in the chips as much as I thought they were a month ago. Like, I think that they are going to be really careful with Halliburton, and they're not going to want to try to rush him back. And they might even fall out of the playoffs without him. So we'll see what happens in the next 2 to 3 weeks without him. But man, I want the Mavericks to trade. I think the best fit is the Warriors. That's the one I've liked the longest. But I just think this Warriors season is just such a mess. It's going to be really hard for me to envision them making a run and doing anything in the playoffs, like getting it together in time. The Mavericks is the team that I would really like to see him go to, because I would just like to see Luka with more talent in the playoffs. I would love just to see like Siakam, Kyrie, Luka, and then role players, whoever else you could fit. You're not giving up Derek Lively in that trade.
That I'm just fascinated as an NBA fan about how that like
fit.
Well, like, because the fit isn't even that weird, but it's just like it's such a bizarre collection of guys. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
I would just be fascinated because I'm not even saying that I don't like it or don't think it would work. I would just I would like to see it. I would like to.
Can I see it, House?
Yeah, can I see it?
Can I see
I'd
it?
like to see
also,
it.
Going into contract negotiations, they already paid to keep Kyrie last offseason because they didn't want a Brunson situation. They'd probably pay to keep Pascal Siakam, and they have new owners. New owner syndrome. Love to pay for. I mean, I don't think Siakam's that big of a name, like to like do that, but like what I'm trying to get at here is like they're probably going to be desperate to keep Luka Doncic happy, and if they want any shot, they need to get someone in there that just improves their ceiling as a team, and I think Siakam could at least do that.
Will they be willing to put the Gobert package on the table to the Magic for Jonathan Isaac to get the new owner? You know, make that owner swap.
Fantastic culture fit.
Yeah, I was gonna say great culture fit for the new, the new regime. Like it'd be awesome.
And when CPAC comes to town, you could just have the speaker on the team already.
Yeah, that's awesome. And also, you could probably, that Jonathan Isaac and Kyrie on the same team would be very funny. I'm sorry, that would be awesome in the locker room.
Oh my God, Civil War.
That would be. I don't like. I would just love to hear because I don't think those guys both seem like pretty friendly to their teammates. You know? What I'm saying? Like,
I think everyone likes Kyrie.
Everyone likes Kyrie, and I think everyone actually does kind of like. We like to joke about nobody showing up to his prayer meetings, but I think everyone does like Jonathan Isaac, like personally as a person too. So I think they would actually like get along, but it would be like a very funny like we're just gonna have to agree to disagree, like thing that was going on with them. Like
Kyrie sending Jonathan Isaac episodes of True Anon to listen to.
Yeah.
Look, the one thing that all left-wing conspiracists and right-wing conspiracists can agree on is that this country is run by a group of evil pedophiles.
That's just gonna say, yeah, that's what they're gonna do. Is they're both going to pour over the Epstein documents together.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing that they'll all agree on. Yeah.
That's True Detective season 6.
Let's go.
Kyrie and Jonathan Isaac investigating the Epstein Island. This shit is so easy. TV is so easy, man. We can do this.
Dude,
they should put us in charge of this. Yeah.
Yep. Emmys, we will see you soon. See you soon.
Yeah, good point by Vern in the comments. Grant Williams being in the mix. I didn't even think about that.
Oh God.
That would be like a surefire way. That is like his like Reddit cloyingness like into that mix is a potent, like that turns it toxic. That takes it from like a beautiful synergy to like a poison, So I don't think you can do that. Grant trying to get them to play Catan over it.
Jesus Christ.
Jonathan Isaac asking where you build the churches, and Kyrie refusing to play as a settler.
See, it has settler in the name.
Yeah.
I don't agree with.
Yeah, you
brilliant.
Can't do that.
Let's go.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Loser in the comments says they're going to get to the answers in Dallas. Considering the history, I mean, look, Dallas has had some pretty insane things. I can say this now that Tyrese Halliburton's okay, and we know he's okay. But someone I can't remember who said it in the DM. Said that he reacted similar to JFK in Dallas when he got injured. Putting the towel over his face. He's fine. He's got a 2-week injury. He'll be fine. But
shout
I
out to
did think
DJ who followed that up, because I think it was the Celtics fan who said that. But then CJ followed up with the Paul Pierce in the wheelchair game one, which was a pretty good own, I gotta admit.
Yeah.
That's a good follow up. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Last thing before we get out of here, we brushed on the Draymond news. I really don't want to talk about Draymond anymore. He drives me insane, so we won't talk about that. It is laughable what happened. He made himself the victim once again. But let's talk about our favorite team to talk about. It's the Detroit Pistons one last time. Okay. One last time. They are expected to be active at the trade deadline. We forgot to talk about this on the last episode, so we got to talk about it now. They are expected to be active at the trade deadline, and they are trying to make win now moves. Now, Cade is out for like 2 weeks now, or like 7 to 10 days, at least, with an injury. It does sound like he's going to be fine, but like he's out, so maybe they change their mind going into the deadline. Like, the fuck are we doing this for? But it does sound like they're going to be trying to make win now moves, and they're interested in Pascal Siakam. Like, why are they trying to make this thing worse?
Troy Weaver needs to be stopped. Yeah, like Mike Vrabel got fired today, which I thought was kind of weird in the NFL.
Definitely.
And this is like the exact opposite end of the spectrum, where it's like you needed to fire Troy Weaver like 2 years ago. Yeah, and like he's gonna keep making this worse. It's like I don't know. It's like putting a cat in a like a china shop and like tying like a creepy crawly spider to its tail, and like it runs out and it's like, oh, it keeps knocking shit over. Well, it'll probably get used to the spider eventually if we just like let it run around the china shop for like a lot longer. Like, it's just he keeps breaking shit. Stop him. That would be, honestly, can you think of a worse like realistic trade they could make than Pascal Siakam for that team?
No, I think it would be a disaster. I think that they would get absolutely fleeced in the negotiations. They'd probably end up giving up. The thing is, they don't really have much to trade. Like, they're not trading Cade. So, like, if you get beyond that point, like, are they? Oh God, could they trade Jalen Duren?
I was gonna say they trade Duren and Ivy, and just
that would be such a. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, because they don't want picks. Oh no! Please,
don't let this happen.
Especially because they're not going to do it, because Siakam will just be like, I won't re-sign there. Siakam has all of the potential to just blow up any trade that he wants, and Detroit will be like, oh, he's not re-signing. We're not trading these guys. But that would be a real disaster. Troy Weaver should be taken away from the control panel for the next few weeks. Don't let him ruin the franchise any further. That's kind of just how I feel about it. If you want to get Tobias Harris, and like the Sixers are actually willing to trade him, which I'm still skeptical of.
Vern said in the comments, what if Masai sends them RJ?
He's not going to do that.
I fell to my knees. That's like,
I mean, they could have gotten RJ. I'm sure that everyone knew that RJ was available in those trade talks. I don't think the Raptors just said, we want RJ and we're not going to send him to another. They probably made some calls.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, they could get Wiggins. Could they take on the Wiggins contract?
I think pretty easily, because it's Bojan and something else. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if the so for example, like if the Sixers traded Tobias Harris to the Hawks, and then the Hawks traded Tobias Harris to the Pistons, they could get all of the cap relief from that trade. Like, they could get James Wiseman's expiring, Joe Harris is expiring, Alec Burks expiring, whatever, and second round picks, or maybe one far out protected first or whatever, from the Pistons, if the Hawks just want to get off money and they want to get like more picks in the door to start whatever this retweaking is around the team. And then the Hawks players go to the Sixers, Tobias goes to Detroit, they get cap relief and picks or whatever for their players. that would be a fine trade to me because you're basically just giving up nothing, and then you'll probably get Tobias on a decent contract this offseason if he is willing to re-sign with you. That would be totally fine, even though I don't love the idea of him going back there. Like, completely understandable. If you're overpaying and you're putting like Duren and Asar and Ivy and picks on the table, that's where I'm like, you have fully lost the plot. Because you're not going to turn this around unless there's a team that's giving you like a perfect wing fit. Like if Mikal Bridges became available and you traded like Duren for Mikal Bridges, okay, fine. I wouldn't do it, but I understand why you would do it.
Or Thompson
or, sure.
Something
or
like
who
that, yeah.
Like one of these guys, like if another team believes in one of these guys and you can get back a real good role player that fits well, totally go for it. If you're overpaying with Masai Ujiri to get Siakam, or you're taking on the Wiggins contract, that's where I'm like, you're compounding the issues even further and further.
I don't know. I you know what's funny about the Pistons is I actually feel the exact opposite that I did about the Houston Rockets last year before like Şengün made like his leap, where like and when Jabari was struggling a lot more, where I was like, I don't like any of Houston's young players. Like, there's young players on the Pistons that I think have legitimate talent. Like, just wait this out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Duren is good. I think Thompson's going to be good. Like, I think Ivy could have a chance to be good. I think Cade probably will be good, you know? Like, but you've got to make the pieces. You've got to make the guys in between, like the Killian Hayes and all that other shit. You've got to make that fit a lot better. So, I think upsetting the board at this point, like, doing like a full sale, like trying to buy like 30-year-olds with those guys is just like the absolute worst thing you could do, especially at this point in the game.
No, totally agree. Before we get out of here, last thing. The Pistons without Cade are currently up 16 on the Kings. So talk soon.
Let's go. They're back.
All right, hold on. Let me box score watch real quick and say build the team around Jalen Duren, 10 points and 6 rebounds in the first quarter.
Let's go.
Shit. That's pretty good.
That is really good. Yeah, no, I'm just saying he's good, man. He's baby Dwight Howard. Talk soon.
He does look like, sometimes I watch him and someone pointed this out that he kind of does look like Bam sometimes. And I'm like, if you have Bam, it's not a bad future Bam.
That's a good start. That's a good start.
Very good start.
Starting place.
At a minimum. But yeah. So
Bam's like one of the best number 2s you can have.
Exactly. Yeah.
In the NBA. Like he works with any star. So
Yep. All right. Thank you guys for joining. I'll be back with streams later in the week. We'll be back with a Patreon episode on Friday. We have a special guest for that, so you do not want to miss it. It will be really fun. So sign up for the Patreon for slop stuff. If there's any trades, we'll be back for emergency slop streams. And that's it. Enjoy your week.
President Obama's this Friday. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Oop. Oh, sorry. Jeez.
Oops. Yes.
Anyway, special guest on Friday. It's actually someone I like substantially more than Obama. This person's awesome.
Yes. It is Malik Obama, his brother. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. That's right.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks for joining, guys. Peace.